Have you ever received advertisements related to a conversation you've just had? It's not a coincidence. It's your data, and it's being collected from your mobile phone or tablet. Your privacy matters, so it's time for a change. At FOSS Devices, our phones and tablets maximize your privacy. You'll also get better security, better performance, and more control over your device, all without outside interference from big tech companies. Go to fossdevices.com, that's F-O-S-S devices.com, to reclaim your digital freedom today.
Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing the Single Life Tall-Alls Part 3 to 5. But before we do, let's do some hot goss. Now again, we're doing kind of 3 topics for hot goss. So that's what we're doing, so we're not bombarding you on one episode of all hot goss. So let's get into this. So Netflix has kind of somewhat officially, or it's discussions in terms of ATA after the altar for season 6, which of course, as we know, ATA for season 5 was never released, and it should never be released. But apparently Chelsea has been kind of talking about ATA, and it appears that the segment for season 6 is definitely on the checklist, and it's probably happening. And she mentioned this on Caitlin Bristow's Off the Vine podcast. She kind of mentioned it there. During the appearance, she expressed her excitement about the possibility of a new ATA episode for season 6 and expressed her hope that it would be approved soon, which kind of lends me to think that maybe, something's kind of been happening. But I can imagine, even though we only had one couple out of that, no different than season 5, we actually liked the couple from season 6, and the drama surrounding everyone in season 6 is so different than the drama that was surrounding people in season 5. Season 5 was a shit show from everybody. And we have shit going down with people who may or may not have been on the show. And it was just a complete shit show. So I can't imagine that no ATA would have been coming for that. But I do see it was season 6. So, there we go. But that's that. Let's move on to the next piece. While we're on the Love is Blind trope, Gigi and Blake have welcomed their first child together, and of course, as mentioned, is a baby boy. They both captioned a photo of the baby on Instagram. They captioned it saying, "His first breath took ours away," which this picture is a black and white image from their son's birth. And they say, "Meet Heath Orion Hortzman, born on Good Friday, so March 29th. Everyone is home and happy and healthy, and the pregnancy and birth were a dream come true." I don't quite understand that. The last part of it anyways. How's labor a dream come true? Anyway. They go on to say that, quote, "Our lives are brighter, fuller, and forever better. Thank you for all of the love and well wishes. Heath has so many people who love him." And for parents, they're excited, of course. Blake, if we don't remember who Blake is, he was on Bachelor. And in Bachelor in Paradise, I believe, too. Blake also celebrated his son's arrival on his Instagram story, sharing a video cuddling his new son, over which he wrote, quote, "All of the cliche things are completely true. My heart literally lives outside of me now." Very sweet. So with that, we do have, some of the people and alums in each of their respective shows coming forward and saying some words. We have Jason Tartik, who said that, he's beautiful, and so are you too. And he does go on to say that he can't wait to meet the little stud. Congratulations, hope you're recovering fast. And, well, gee, baby. And we also have Love is Blind alum Amber Barnett, y'all. Remember her? Also show their love with the season 1 contestant commenting, "Oh my god, congratulations, mamacita, look at all of that hair," because baby has a lot of hair. And also Amy from our recent season also says, "Heath is forever blessed. Congratulations to your beautiful bundle of joy." And I do have a photo of Blake and baby. He is adorbs. He looks like his father. But yeah, that's it for that piece. Now let's segue from Love is Blind to Bachelor. It's kind of a perfect segue. And I'm sure, again, a lot of us kind of know Gary and Teresa announced on GMA that they're getting divorced. So that was, let me check my calendar, 3 months. I'm not surprised. 4 months. Anyways, I'm not surprised. 4 months of marriage. Not surprised at all. That's what's happened. They apparently revealed this on April 12th, that they were getting divorced. Okay, so 3 months after their TV wedding, whatever. They were married before that anyways. They say, I think, or Gary says, quote, "Teresa and I have had a number of heart-to-heart conversations, and we've looked closely at our situation, our living situation, and we've kind of come to the conclusion mutually that it's time for us to dissolve our marriage." He went on to say, "It's best for the happiness of each of us to live apart and to be near their families." Earlier this month, TMZ reported that, they had not yet moved in with each other, which, if you remember, there was kind of rumors swirling that they were going to move to South Carolina together, and said Gary is still in Indiana while Teresa is in New Jersey. Concerning the couple's living arrangements, an insider explained to Us Weekly that one of the reasons the pair have no immediate plans to uproot their lives is because Teresa is continuing to work as a senior compliance officer at a financial advisory office on the East Coast. So, I am going to have more respect with regard to this. This is developing. So, I am going to have a little more kind of things that have come to my attention actually more recently, from when I screenshot of this. So, there's going to be more. But I'm ending it there until another episode. So that's it for Hot Goss. Let's get into the reason that we are here. Single Life, Season 4, Episode 14, Tell All, Part 3. So, we're kind of still here with Natalie and Josh. And Chantel says, what's actually disrespectful is you playing Natalie. You say that you don't want to have this relationship with her, yet you give her money and shit, and then you sleep with her. Come on, my guy. Anyway, Ty and Peyton, his idiots, say Josh gets into these types of relationships who he kind of needs to help. Maybe not necessarily financially, but in some way he feels like he needs to help them. So I wrote, okay, so he's a fix-a-hoe. Thank you, AD, for that one. Anyway, Ty and Peyton, you can go fuck off now. We're done with you. So Natalie is not going to bring a child into this situation. Now, I'm not sure if she's saying just in general her situation, because Jesus, or if her situation with Josh, which again, what situation? Because you guys aren't together, you know? Like, anyways, she does say to him, listen, I told you I wanted kids, and you played with my time. And you know what? That is true. That is very true. Natalie has been talking about child forever. And even if she didn't say something to him from the beginning, Josh, you could have watched the show from when she was with Mike before she even moved to the States, where she talked about wanting to be a mother. It's out there. This woman was wanting to be a mother since before she even moved from the Ukraine to the States. So, yeah. But Josh's response to this is, well, I don't even know why we're talking about this. We're not even together. Like, what are we talking about children for? Did you hear what the fuck she said? Because you know what? This is kind of the one time where she's actually being kind of fucking clear. But who am I? Shaun does ask him, do you expect to see Natalie again? And he says, yeah, I actually do expect it. You expect it? What the fuck does that mean? And Natalie says, with what status? You need to just be honest with me. She wants to be, what I'm hearing, I mean, Natalie's cuckoo magoo, but what I'm hearing her say is, tell me what I am to you. Tell me what you think I would be to you. Instead, he doesn't say anything. He says, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to propose? Like, what? And he kind of accuses her of being all over the place and all this. But no, I don't think she's necessarily all over the place. I think this is the one time where she's saying, just tell me who I am to you and what you think we could be. Instead, you're just playing games with me. You know, sleep with me. Yet you don't want a relationship with me. Like, what? But at the same time, like, I do understand what he says too, in terms of, I am not going to fucking introduce you to my kids and my family when there's no stability with you. And you're always cuckoo magoo. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I understand all sides of it. So, Debbie is, I don't even know which Debbie this is, sorry guys. She's like, I don't know much. But, okay, this was Miss Debbie. So this is after we're done. We're on break right now. And Miss Debbie in the green room is kind of like, I don't know much about much, okay? But calling someone a charity case, that's kind of fucked up. And Natalie's like, she's like, do you know what that means, charity case? And Natalie's like, no. And she's like, well, it's kind of like someone who is really so fucked up they need help. And she's like, did Josh call me that? No, he didn't. But Miss Debbie says, yeah, him and his friends. Because, like, his friends say, you know, you're a charity case. And Josh was there shaking his head yes. I don't know if Josh was shaking his head yes. Or if even him shaking his head yes was his kind of confirming, yes, I think you're a fucking charity case. But he didn't actually use the words, I think you're a fucking charity case. Like, you know what I mean? And Miss Debbie is just, let me stir this pot some more, because that's all she's been fucking doing. And Debbie tells her, you know, you're stronger than you think. But you know what? I'll give Miss Debbie that. Tyray says, listen, I got a suggestion for you. Me, the virgin, who has never dipped my stick into anything. You should not sleep with Josh. You know what? Tyray's right. Tyray's right. Listen, we've all been there. We've all done it. I've done it. Where you slept with somebody who you probably, when you want one thing, but you're not getting that one thing, but at the end of the day, you're still sleeping with that person. And he's clearly going to take it, because men are men. And he takes it, whatever. You're rewarding bad behavior. You're rewarding him and basically saying, no matter what, even if I don't want you romantically, I'm always going to have you physically. You're never going to win in that situation. But again, I was 21, not 39. I'm just saying. Because me now at 32, almost 33, is like, I could never waste my time because I have goals in life. I want to have kids. I want to be a mother. Those are things I want. So I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who doesn't want those things. You need to figure your shit out. You need to figure it out now. And if you don't know what you want, okay, cool. I'm going to go. I'm not going to be cuckoo-magoo, but I'm going to go. Anyway. So I do agree with Tyray. It's just ironic. Chantel says, you know, what is the strongest? Your cookie. Your cookies. Yes, it is. Ain't nothing stronger than a woman's vagina, let me tell you. And then Josh walks in and he's like, can we talk alone? No, guys. Prepare for the cuckoo magoo that is about to happen with Natalie. This was amazing. So, they're off on their own. And she says to him, why didn't you give me status? You know, I'm a charity project. I liked Peyton. I didn't think, like, why would he say that about me? And he's like, oh, I did not call you a charity case. She's like, you're calling me this like I'm some kind of monster or something. You know? And then here it is. Here's the gold. Here's the gold, guys. Okay? They throw wild animals. And they started to poke. And poor animal just wants to go home. And he cannot go home. And everybody pokes and pokes. And they see it's dangerous. It's screaming. And you're me, or whatever the hell she said. You're giving me pain. You're cutting me. Why would you do this to me? What the fuck was this? Animals poking and scared and it's dangerous and scream. What? That's why she'll never ever be anywhere else but on the single life. She's great. Anyway. But he says that, you know, maybe we can try. And she says, like, I don't trust you. And you know what? That is fair. But anyways, let's move on. Because don't you worry, we got more of Natalie. More greatness with Natalie in this episode. Now we're back on set, and now it's Tyray's turn. There's not a whole lot here, guys. I got things to say, but it's not a whole lot. And Shaun asks him, you know, what's your obstacle? And you know what? He's very aware because he says, me? He's like, I got trust issues and issues in general. Yeah. Also, he says that he never really knows if a woman is actually, like, into him. He doesn't know how to recuse. And, you know, sometimes, you know, he misses the signs and all that. He says, you know, maybe I miss the signs maybe about 90% of the time. Jesus Lord. And then we start asking Natalie, of all fucking people, when you know someone's into you. And Natalie's like, well, you know if they're into you, like if they ask you, you know, what do you think? And you know, if they listen and, you know, if she wants your time and if she wants to meet your family. And Veronica, thank God, steps in and she's like, I think it's actually a lot more simpler than that. Like if someone's kind of looking at you in a club across the way and, you know, they kind of make a point to be near you or make a point to be by themselves. They probably did that on purpose or whatever, like something simple. And Tim's like, or if they shove your tongue down your mouth. Tiffany, we're kind of going through now the debacles. As we remember, Tiffany's the first girl who stood him up, and you know, Tiffany never heard from her again. She just full of ghosted him. Raina, he says, is very casual, nothing too crazy with her. No kissy faces and flirting or anything like that. So Shaun says, are there any other prospects? And he says, well, I did meet this other person in NOLA. He kind of mentions him and his brother were getting food and they ran into her. And, it's cute. It's whatever, they're flirting and it's something a little more. And then we ask, okay, what's her name? Y'all, he doesn't fucking know her name. He doesn't fucking know her name. He's like, I don't actually remember. He's like, I think I was so drunk I didn't know what she said. And then I messaged her, but her screen name isn't her name. Jesus Christ. And this is so trolling because Shaun's like, well, we know her name. It's Shannon. She's here. Shit. So here comes Shannon. And, okay. Listen, I'm not one to talk about how people... well, no, I am. What the fuck was she wearing? Listen, I'm all for... as a, plus size girl myself, like, it is what it is. I'm all down for people dressing the way they want to dress. If you want to look sexy or whatever, we should be able to dress like single women or skinnier women do and not be judged for it because of our size. But at the same time, you also need to dress for your body and to make sure that you look elegant and great and whatever. Like, first of all, I didn't like the color of the dress. But that's me. I hate green. And secondly, slit for days, which I have no issues with. I don't have an issue with a tasteful slit. But the slit up the front of the dress, as high as it goes, not for me. If there's going to be a slit, it needs to be on the side. That's just me. I'm old school. And the boobs. My God. And I mean, like, I was nervous that she might pop out. And then you have Tyray here who can't control his shit. And you're just like, oh my God. It wasn't a choice I would make. I'm just saying that. She's a beautiful girl though. Just, no. No to the dress. Anyway, he's shocked that she's actually here. And he's actually also glad that she's there too. Because, it kind of says something. And she tells us, they met on Bourbon Street. And, she saw him and she went up to him. And she felt like they kind of known each other forever, which kind of lends me to think my girl is a fan of this show, saw Tyray and is like, oh my God, that's Tyray, and then walked up to him. That's what it feels like. Anyways, so it is asked, why haven't y'all kind of met up again then? And he says, he was nervous and kind of felt like maybe he wasn't ready. But, Debbie, she's all about this. She has this huge smile on her face. She's all about it. And she says, it was Shannon that was saying kind of all these nice things about Tyray. He's feeling good from all of that. And he's like, so what are you doing tonight? And he's like, what's going on, date? And John is like, ask her, what do you like to do? Make some sacrifices, do what she likes. And, she's kind of saying, maybe they go out to dinner, maybe do something touristy after. And he's like, well, this is a really great Mexican restaurant just down the street. And John is like, stay away from the beans there, brother. And you know what? Also, let's not fill up on stuff, so maybe ixnay on the past day, And also, she says, you know what? His laugh, it doesn't bother her. It's just a nervous little laugh. It's fine. Good for she. The 33-year-old virgin part of things, too, doesn't bother her either. It is what it is. Whatever. And then Shaun's like, well, you know, he's never been kissed before. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. And then all of a sudden, Shaun's like, well, maybe you could be his first kiss. What the fuck is happening? What's going on? This was so awkward. Let's go through this. Answer like, why not right now? He's game. Let's do this. Just kiss like nobody's watching, Tim says. And Shaun's like, well, keep it G now. Shaun. And Shannon's like, you better watch though, because if you didn't, it didn't happen. And then they're kind of like standing up in front of each other. And he's like, I don't know what to do. Fucking sorry. But he kisses her. It's a quick little peck, nothing too crazy to talk about. And Tim asks, okay, do you remember her name now? And he's like, yeah, it's Shannon. Which is so mean. Because she's like, yeah, you were in trouble for that, actually. But Shannon's gonna leave and Tyray's gonna walk her out and he's gone. He's put his arm around her. It's awkward and shit. And I'm just like, this is so weird. This was really weird. It was weird because of like Shaun Robinson literally saying, why don't y'all, go ahead and have a cookies, It's so gross. Anyways, let's move on to viewers' questions again. And I actually quite hate this, but I do love it in this moment for what we get in the minute. But anyways, the first question, Chantel, you twerk a lot. You even got an instructor. Yeah, Mooney. How do you do that? How do you move your ass like that? Jesus. And then she demonstrates. It's about the jiggle. And she says, you know what? Yes, I have an instructor for twerking, because why the fuck would anybody need that? But anyways, but you know who taught me? My grandma. My great-grandma Everett taught me. Lord Jesus. But again, that's what black women do. We twerk. Next question. Why did you go to Texas with a suitcase of sex toys, John, instead of the essentials? And he says, you want to make sure that, she's good, and, sometimes you get tired, so, you got your dick, you got the wand, and you're good to go. You know what? I respect it. I respect it. Next question. Natalie. This was great. What is your kind of perfect movie part that you really want to play? And y'all, she wants to play a vampire. Okay? And Shaun's like, okay, how about you show us? Demonstrate you being a vampire. Okay? Buckle up, guys. She stares all scary and shit, actually, because I'm like, oh. And I'm thinking, that's actually pretty good. And Veronica's like, I'm scared. Then all of a sudden, she just does like this hand wavy thing over her face. And she says, no, she's obviously all this is in Russian, but I'm translating it to English. And she says, ready? To you, my nail. I will come sometime at night when the moon is standing overhead with things are raining heavily on the pond, and women are from pity going mad and marveling at the beating of eyelashes. And on your jealous eyelashes, it seems, I'll tell you, I'm not a human being, but a vision which you only dream. And I will say, console me, console, someone is beating into my heart. Then she puts her hands over this, I don't know, say it for a minute. She puts her hands over her face, and Shaun says, oh, she lost them. And then she says, oh, I want, scratch that. Oh, But wait, guys, she ain't done. She continues. And I will say to you, that wind is fresh and the stars over our heads are hot and seen. That was it. It was the weirdest fucking thing I have ever seen in my entire fucking life. Listen, I've watched some vampire things, okay? I've watched Vampire Diaries. I've watched Twilight. I watched that Queen of the Damned movie years back with Aaliyah. I've watched a few things, okay, with vampires in it. This was a first. I don't know what kind of vampire she was supposed to be. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, Chantel is like, that was pretty good. But you know what? Maybe since you're here in the United States of America, you should do it in English. You might get more parts. Debbie thinks that she's old Hollywood. Okay. You could do quite a bit. Where, when, and how in 1950? Jesus. John thinks, maybe you could have been like the Wicked Witch of the West. What? Anyway, hold up, guys. Tyray's coming back now. John is like, I told you it'd be quick. And he did get a second kiss from her, I guess. Anyways, they're going to be going out later. Tim asks, did you get a boner? And Tyra's like, well, I had to fix myself. It was gross. Anyways, moving on. Now it's John's turn. Things are different. He says, we got Riva. Riva, you want a lunch? John doesn't really miss the single life, which is surprising. But anyways, let's bring Meghan out. And he says, having a biological kid for him isn't necessary. But at the same time, they may not be trying, per se. But at the same time, they're not using protection. Y'all are trying. You're trying. Even if you're not consciously trying, you're trying. There's no pullouts happening. There's no protection on either part. Nothing. Anyways, Meghan is like, well, we've gone this long without any scares. Ma'am, that don't mean shit. Anyways, they do kind of say if it does happen, then it's fine for them. But it's just, ain't no one smart enough to do some family fucking planning. Anyways, let's bring up Patrick to shut up, of course. He still doesn't think that John is ready to be a stepdad. But again, at the same time, Patrick, he's kind of doing it. Even if you think he's not ready for it, he's legitimately doing it. So, what? Anyway. And Meghan says, I was doing it when he first got there anyways. And I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm not going to stop just because he's here. Like, that is her daughter. That is her responsibility. So she's going to continue doing what she's doing. Anyway, Patrick is basically, he kind of just feels like they don't really want to have kids. Or he doesn't want to have kids. He legitimately just saying he doesn't want to have bio kids, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't want River. It's two different things, anyway. He's like, it's just a lot, It's a lot being a dad. Okay, and you're doing it. And Shaun asks Patrick, like, do you regret revealing too much to Meghan about John? And he's like, nope. He's like, not at all. And he's like, she should know. And you know what? Vice versa. He should know things too. And Tim asks, what do you think about Meghan? Are there red flags for you? Like, whatever. And Patrick says, well, she's a jealous person. And Shaun says, yeah, sure, there might be some trust issues or whatever. And she acknowledges it. She does say, like, I'm not necessarily a jealous person, but I do have trust issues. She acknowledges it. And she says she's working on it. And Patrick says, the fact that you guys, share your location and you get upset when he's working too long or whatever. And Chantel suggests, maybe you should, I don't know, get rid of the sharing of locations because maybe you're a little obsessed about that. And Meghan says, I'm not obsessed about it. I don't even look at it. Yes, you do. You need to look at his location. Especially if what Patrick is saying is right and you complain that he takes too long at jobs or whatever, you're definitely looking at his location because you want to make sure that he says he is where he says he is. I mean, after all, we don't want him pulling in into Ramey's, She says maybe, they have issues once every 2 weeks. They might fight about something. For example, they might fight if someone is looking at someone's ass in the club, like they just did it the night before. Or if maybe they're texting someone without, asking, are you texting somebody? And Chantel says, that's not normal. And Meghan just straight up disagrees and says, I know my relationship. Ma'am, you might know your relationship, you say, but at the same time, you can't sit here and say we have trust issues and we are arguing about these trust issues every 2 weeks and then still say I know my relationship and I think it's normal. That's not normal, it's toxic. And guess what? Your autistic child is going to feed off of all of this nonsense y'all are going through. If she has trust issues, which I'm not taking away from her, she has a child with a man who seems to not be present, and that's fucked up. If she's having trust issues, do what you need to do, or do what you are capable of doing, and get some therapy. I don't know what resources are out there. If she doesn't have financially, maybe she can't afford it or whatever. Or whatever her situation is. I don't know what her situation is. I'm not implying. But get some help to work through this. You're going to thank you. And John's going to thank you. And if, honestly, John needs to do some therapy too. But it's just not normal. I can't, I'm with Veronica. Because Veronica says, listen, I think you guys are very similar, but that is not normal. And if that is normal, I don't want a relationship like that. I just want peace in my life. And she's right. I am 100% with her. Because I can't imagine constantly being jealous about my boyfriend potentially looking at somebody or talking to somebody, whatever. I can't imagine living like that. And then again, a lot of that is internal. It's nothing John's doing. It's all in her. She is dealing with something internally. So do what you gotta do to fix it. Especially if now we're potentially talking about marriage. Anyway. Again, Meghan disagrees because she is stubborn as fuck. Anyway, so what's the timeline? Well, what about an engagement? And Meghan says, well, I'm not, that into timelines. The fuck she say? Ma'am, you were literally out here being we need to move to Austin. Or where the fuck they live. Otherwise, this relationship it's over. And then as soon as he gets there, the next day she's like, so where's the ring? About timelines. Girl, okay. Patrick, kind of disagrees, or at least disagreeing with his face. And Shaun says, or Patrick disagrees and John disagrees with his face. John says, listen, I love her. She loves me. We do got the trust issues, but I want this to work. And I 100% believe him. And he says, I'm just not a timeline guy. And Veronica's like, but she's a timeline girl. So what is the timeline? He says, his timeline, it's whenever, it happens. And you know what? And he gets up and he gets down on one knee. And bam, that's where we end this episode or reunion for Tell All Part 3. My gosh, y'all, the reunions have actually been pretty good. Like, thank God it's over. Because the last episode for the reunion just came the day prior of me recording this, and it's just, I'm happy it's over. But yeah, it actually been kind of decent. We've had some randos in there. I'm like, why are you here? But anyway, that is that for whatever episode this is, Tell All Part 3. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we will jump into Tell All Part 4. And I am back. So let's hop in with the fourth tell all, whatever. So we're just kind of left off with John proposing, and he's like, Miss Meghan Brown, will you do me the honors of being my wife? He wants River to be his daughter. And of course she says yes. So congrats. I knew this was the case. I was hearing rumors. Anyways. This we find out is our first tell-all proposal, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But Patrick says, I'm here to support him. And that comes from the heart. And Tim says, shit, John is getting married before me. Because Tim's never been married. He was engaged, but they didn't get married. So there you go. But okay, that's it for that. Goodbye, Patrick. We'll see you later. And Patrick is surprised by the proposal. And we kind of go back on to the set. We're saying goodbye to Meghan now. And Veronica says, this is better than, having an on-air divorce. What the fuck? Because who knows? Who knew that was actually gonna be some future telling? Anyway, because that was like last season, so I guess we're in the proper order here. The divorce has not happened, or the potential divorce has not happened yet between Mike and Natalie. And then we see Patrick calling Thais, which is like, I mean, I understand you calling your wife and saying, guess what just happened? But it's just the shit talking about it. That's what I have the issue with. Anyway, he tells her and she's like, really? It's so early. It's like 9 months ago. Meghan was a booty call. And that's what Patrick says. And it's just like, okay. I've had relationships start off that way and last for years. So, yeah, I think any relationship can start off on a booty call or start off on like more sexual sense and still be something worthwhile or something that can, be a good thing. It's not unusual. It's just the shaming of it, because it's like, okay, what was the deal with you guys? I didn't realize though, because now they're appearing on HEAS. I think last week they did, and I didn't realize actually they were together for a long time, long distance, before he even proposed, like 2 years. I did not know that. I actually thought they got engaged like sooner than that, like everybody else on the show. So I guess I can then maybe understand why they're like, oh, why so quick? But at the same time, they're a completely different relationship. They're completely two different people than you and Thais. And don't shame somebody for their quickness. They're not the first, and they're not going to be the last people who have this quickness to get engaged or get married or whatever, live together or whatever. That is their process. If it croaks, it croaks. Let it croak. It's neither here nor there to you guys. So anyway, it's just, I don't understand this just shit talking and shaming nonsense that both Patrick and Thais are kind of doing. But anyway, let's move on now to Miss Debbie. For whatever reason, we have Fernanda and Debbie here too to hone in or give their opinions, which Fernanda barely says a word. Debbie, Mama Debbie is Mama Debbie, so she's going to have things to say. But I just don't understand why they were here. But anyways, let's get on with it. So we get the flashback, of everything. And so you lied about your age, And, how much? And she's like, I shaved off 10 years. It was a white lie. And him is like, no, 2 years is a white lie. That's like a black lie. Like 10 years is a lot. And I'm going to have my thoughts and my feelings. Don't you worry. Fernanda says, this is probably the only thing she says. You can't start something on a lie, which is very true. You can't. And Debbie says, Mama Debbie says, you'd be proud of your age. A lot of people don't get to 68. And all encouraging things, honestly, that she's kind of telling her. And she's like, I just don't get why you're not proud of your age. And that's how it's coming across. Like, no one's saying that Miss Debbie isn't proud of her age, or at least Miss Debbie isn't saying she's not proud of her age. But from the outside looking in, that's what it seems like, right? And Miss Debbie says, well, when I put my real age, there was nothing. Wasn't getting nothing. There's this vast of nothingness is what she says. And Mama Debbie says, well, maybe you could meet people in person, or maybe your profile sucks, basically is what she says to her. And she's like, you think something's wrong with my profile? Well, maybe there is something wrong with your profile. Maybe there's something wrong with the men, whatever. But like, we don't know. And she's like, there is an app for seniors. Like, have you given that one a chance? And that's actually a really good point. If she's looking for somebody who is in her age range, which I think, honestly, that is not what Debbie wants. Debbie doesn't want someone in her age range. I'm not saying she wants some, but she wants someone who maybe is a little younger than her. And again, I'm going to have a lot more to say about this as we get on to the next episode. But I'm just like, you don't want someone your age. And it's very possible you can still get someone your age or closer to what you want in your age range or whatever on a seniors app. Like, I don't know how old you have. I think the seniors apps you have to be 65 and up, or maybe like 60 and up. So maybe she wouldn't get a Ruben, or the other guy. Can't remember his name. But I'm just like, Russ. Was it Russ? Anyways, who cares? And yeah, like, I think she wants someone who's younger than her, not someone who is her age. She's very particular, I think, of what she wants, and there's nothing wrong with being particular, but be real about how particular you are. So Miss Debbie thinks that Mama Debbie is out to get Miss Debbie. Where, when, how, why did you get to that conclusion? Because I don't think that Mama Debbie was out to get her. I don't think that. I think this is a classic case of when Natalie thought that Tim was trying to call her a hooker. So I think this is a classic case of that. And I'm like, wait a minute, ma'am, where did you get this? Because I don't think she's trying to get you at all. John says, can I say, he's like, can I say that I have money when I don't just so I can get a girl. It's a good, thing to say. You can't, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it now. A lot of the people here, not a lot of the people, some people, not everybody, is on this side of, well, I'd rather know the guy or the person has an unfiltered pictures, or at least I know who I'm looking at. Then, I'd rather have that and they lie about their age if I had to choose. I want neither. Okay. I'm not going to focus on somebody who has a picture so filtered that I don't know what you look like. Or at least if you're going to have I haven't been on a dating app in so long now, but if I'm going to have a dating app and I want to have a picture that's more filtered as like a profile picture, if you're going to have the profile picture that's filtered because you like that picture, you should at least then have other pictures that are unfiltered, or at least have some sort of picture on your profile that is unfiltered. Fine. I agree with that. I don't want that. And I also don't want someone lying to me about their age. And maybe that's me, because I have been with men who has lied about their age in order to make themselves younger to be involved with me. And I'm talking at a point in time where I'm a teenager and they're an adult. So, I don't take anyone lying to me about their age, their name, their living situation, because there's no reason. Because if you're going to lie to me, this is my philosophy and it's always been, if you're going to lie to me about your age or your name, which I've had all of this. I've had people lie about their age, their name, their living situations, all of that. My current actually did that to me. He lied to me about his living situation. I'm like, quoi? Like, why? There's no need for that. And he got reamed out, but he did eventually, say, okay, this is what's going on. And this is why I didn't tell you. It was all fair. He didn't lie to me about anything else. But I have had people lie to me about their name, their age, and all that. And I'm just like, why? There's no purpose of that. Because if you're going to lie to me about your age or your name or whatever, or how you look or whatever, then what are you going to lie to me about? What else are you going to lie to me about? That's way bigger than those small little things that are completely insignificant, especially when you're meeting someone for the first time. So this whole thing about, oh, I'd rather have this than this, or, I get Debbie doing it. I don't get Debbie doing it. Because again, I want to say this, and I don't remember if this was said on the tell-all, but I'm going to say it. If a man lied about if this was the other way, if this was the man lying about his age, shaving off 10 years in order to make sure he can get with someone closer to the age range that he wants or whatever. If Debbie was a man and they did this, they would not hear the end of it. So why is it okay for Miss Debbie to lie about her age because why? She's a woman? I don't buy it. I don't give a shit. It was a wrong thing to do. Who the fuck lies about their age just so that they can get a date? How desperate can you really be? Honestly. But that's why I have more than I'm going to say about this a little later when we get to the last episode. Because Miss Mama Debbie does point something out where, why else would you date? And Miss Debbie's response to that, I don't fucking buy it. I am with Mama Debbie on that. I'm not saying everything Mama Debbie did was right, because she is who she is, and we know she is the one. I'm done, we know who she is. But there is some truth in what she says. So there's that. But all right. And then we go back after commercial break, whatever. And Debbie says, I had to do it. I had to fucking lie about my age. I was getting nothing. And Mama Debbie asks, what if a guy, had lied about his age, which I said. And Miss Debbie says, I wouldn't care because I would have an unfiltered picture. Not fucking enough. Sorry. Most people agree, like I said, with Miss Debbie about the unfiltered picture part. And again, how would you know you had an unfiltered picture until you met the person? You know what I mean? But anyways. And Natalie says, I would lie. I would lie to get what I want. That's fucking encouraging. Anyways. Veronica says, the amount of 6'5" men that I've actually met up with, I mean, come on. Which I feel like I've never had a man lie to me about his height. I've never had that. Never had that. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. But I've definitely had men. I think we all have had men, women, men, whatever. We've all had men that have lied about their dick size. That's what I've encountered. Because they're like, oh, I'm this massive thing and I have to have like magnum condoms and shit. And it's like, the fuck no, you don't. But anyways, I've had some men have be really delulu and actually wear them and they don't need it. And it's like, that is unsafe. But anyways. So, here comes Julian now. And Miss Debbie is like, what's up, homie? And Julian says, whatever I say doesn't matter. She's going to do what she wants to do. She beats to her own drum, and that's great. And he says that he's actually tries to like hook her up with, good men, and she just doesn't want anything to do with it because they think they're a little more conservative. There's been a firefighter, there's been a retired cop or whatever. There's been these great guys with jobs or pensions, whatever, who can provide not only for themselves, but maybe in time can provide for her. But she'd rather be with these artsy guys like Osama or Ruben. So she's like, yeah, because they're just too boring. And well, I think they're just probably what she's thinking, they're too boring. But she says that they're rough around the edges, which is like, okay, if you need to get to know someone in order to determine whether or not they're rough around the edges, because then you do get guys like Osama who aren't quote unquote rough around the edges, but are scammers. So, Julian wouldn't be concerned, if there was something up with Ruben. When Julian talks to him, apparently, his stories kind of change constantly, which again, he is a cop. He's going to pick up on those things. Because again, if you know anything about cops or whatever, when they do like true crime and stuff, people like Julian, or hell, people like me who aren't cops are going to pick up on when the story keeps changing, because that makes me know you're lying. And that's what basically Julian says, is like, his story is constantly changing, which makes me think he's lying. And, but we're going to stop talking about Julian. Oh, sorry, Ruben. Well, we're going to actually stop talking about him and talk to him, so he's here. And this is actually the first time that Ruben and Debbie are in the same room together since she flew out to Miami. That's a concern. How long has it been? Are we talking it's been a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4? Anything over and beyond 4 months is like, you can't come out to Georgia, wherever the hell, Sugar Hill, Sugarfoot, Sugar Coat, whatever the hell you live. You can't go out there and see her. Like, that's kind of a red flag to me. But let's continue on. And he hopes that they can, date for real, like be, official, right? And Debbie asks, like, do you talk to other women? And Tim is like, Well, come on. Look at him. Does it look like he's talking to other women? This is what he whispers to Veronica. And I'm just like, Tim, come on now. But Mama Debbie asks, and I have like a shitload of questions in this moment, and says, like, when's your last relationship? Do you talk to other people? Blah, blah, blah. She's having a whole bunch of cool questions. And Miss Debbie, like, yeah, says, who's the cop here, Julianne or Debbie? No, I think Mama Debbie's asking the fucking questions that you, Miss Debbie, should be actually asking, and you're not. Yes, she does ask some decent questions eventually, I guess, but at the same time, it's kind of like, that's neither here nor there now because he's talking to you now. And if he wasn't interested in you, to whatever degree that interest is, then he would have just fucking told you. And if he's not fucking telling you, and you feel there's something wrong, then you take it upon yourself and say, you know what, I'm gonna walk away. Do whatever you gotta do. But, she just, I feel like Mama Debbie was asking the right questions that you would ask. But, Miss Debbie doesn't ask those questions. She's more concerned. Are you talking to other women? It's like, well, y'all aren't exclusive. He can talk to as many women as he so pleases because you guys are not exclusive at this point. That's a question you ask if you are exclusive. Anyway, we then get a flashback of Julian, just going in on Ruben about everything. And Julian says, well, if you like her, why did you not meet up with her in the entire time that y'all have been in New York together now? That's a fair question. And she's like, I tried texting him, or yeah, I think she said she tried texting him and whatever. And he says, sorry, no, this was him. I'm so confused. I think she tried texting him and then he didn't respond back. But then when he did get back to his room, he texted her back, but she didn't text him back. I don't know why. We're going to get a little clarity from her again. It just makes sense to me. But, we then kind of start talking about his style. It's just, it is a lot. I mean, the pink pants would have looked better with a black shirt. And I'm just like, Mama Debbie, you have no fucking right to talk about someone's style when you came out here looking like you were a part of Goblet of Fire. And if you know, you know. Not the Phoenix. Or the Order of the Phoenix, whatever. Although there was actually no Phoenix in Order of the Phoenix, why is it Goblet of Fire? But I'm just like, what? You have no right to talk about anybody's style here. None. Now, is it a lot for me? And am I going to talk about Ruben's style? Absolutely. Because if my man came at me dressed like Ruben, I'm going to tell him to go home and get changed or potentially get a lobotomy because something's wrong. Okay. But when it's Miss Debbie critiquing someone's style, I'm just like, what the fuck Twilight Zone did I just enter into? Because you have no right. But he says, but wait, guess what I have? I have your face on my socks. What? And then he says, oh wait, I got more. And starts to proceed to take his pants off. And then we see that he also has her face on his underwear. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Again, all done for this moment on the show. He's never had those socks or those underwear prior to being, or at least prior to going to New York, or no, he's going to go to New York to do this tell-all. He never intended to do that prior to that. And he's probably going to go home and proceed to burn them or throw them out. I don't know. But are you really serious here? This is so weird. Can you imagine that Etsy order? Like, it's just ridiculous. Anyways. And then with that, Debbie's like, oh, that's so sweet. Okay, great. This is when Fernanda has the second thing that she says today, where she says, well, you did that, but why couldn't you walk and meet her? That's actually very fair question. Again, Fernanda has very little to say, but she's also really astute in what she says. So I'll give her that. It's true. You proceeded to do all of that, but you didn't go see her. But at the same time, what we end up also finding out is Miss Debbie says, well, I didn't message him back because, I mean, it took him all day to message me back. And that just makes me think that he doesn't want to spend any time with me. And I'm just like, but he finally messaged you back and said, listen, I'm free now. We don't know. Maybe he has friends, family in New York, and he was there to see them, whatever, as well. And he gets back to his room and he's like, I got time now and it's not too late. And maybe I can spend time with her now. And, you did not respond back to him. That is manipulative as well. Like, come on. If you want to spend time with him, then spend time with him. Even if it's minimal, spend time with him. What the hell? Anyways, so Julian, did you end up running a background check on Ruben? He says no, he didn't do it. And Debbie says, I do have one concern. Here's the next part here, guys. The dating site. Something just kind of told me, let me hop back onto the site to see whether or not you are still currently active on the site. And it does look like you are currently active on the site. And which it leads me to think you are talking to other women. And Julian says, well, I still have my profile active, yes. But I guess it's one of those, maybe it's like a Match.com or Cupid or something. And he has to, obviously, you need to have a paid subscription in order to really view the site, I guess. And he says, even though I have my active profile and I do see certain things from time to time, I'm not actually I can't see everything because I don't have the paid subscription at this point. I guess he's trying to say he's not paying, I guess, when he met Debbie. I don't know. And he's like, yes, I'm active. I admit that, but I can't see anything. And I'm just like, again, though, if he were to be on the site, what is it to you when you guys are not exclusive? And if you want to be exclusive, then do what you got to do in order to make that happen. I'm just so very confused here. And yeah, it basically just kind of comes to the point where Julian's like, well, you're going to get off those sites. And he's like, yeah, I'll come off. It's not a problem. I'm not even paying for the thing anymore. So whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, so no more Bumble, no more Tinder, no more any of this. And I'm like, he's like, I don't have any of those anyways, but yeah, sure. Oh God. Anyways. So that's that. Shaun asks, did he like a particular type as well, right? And Miss Debbie says, well, the age, his age range, he wanted someone between the ages of 30 and 50. 30 is a little young for a man who's almost 60, but anyways. That's what he kind of had on the site for himself. And he says, yeah, I may have had that, but that's not ultimately what I have. I have Debbie, so it's whatever. And again, that's interesting because I don't know who saw who first. I don't know. We don't really know that. It would be kind of interesting to know who had who first. Debbie seems like the kind of person who's very old school and probably wants to be chased. So if it were to go this way, and Ruben was the one who messaged her first, she never would have popped up in his even Zeitgeist or whatever. And he wouldn't even known she was there. Now, I've, again, been on dating sites where it's like, yeah, here's the people who meet your criteria, but then here are the people who don't. Do you want to message them too? So it's interesting that if it were him to have messaged her first, you would have been outside of the age range because according to you shaved off 10 years, which would have put you in 57, 7 years outside of his range. So it's interesting. But anyways, it is what it is. Who cares what someone's expected age range may be? My age range when I was dating would have been somewhat older than me by at least 2 or 3 years and going up 10. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to date someone who's maybe that 10-year age range, or 10 years older than me, because it just really depends. It could also mean that I could date someone who is younger than me or the same age as I was. Like, it doesn't matter. It matters about the person that you're talking to. The man I ended up marrying was outside of what my age range would have been, because we are the same age, and I preferred guys who were older than me, even if it meant a couple years or 3 years older than me. That was my preference. But I still married a man, though it didn't work, but nothing to do with that. I still was with this person for 5-6 years or whatever it was. And I was still with him, and he was the same age as me. It doesn't mean shit. And that's what I think a lot of people ended up telling her. It's like, yeah, there's this age range, but it doesn't matter because he wants to be with you. So anyways, so then Shaun says, so are you guys going to be exclusive now? Like, today's the day you guys are going to be exclusive? What is this? We're just going to start matching people and forcing people to kiss people? It's like, what the hell? Anyways. And they're like, yeah, I mean, she is the only one that I'm talking to, Ruben says, so why not? But you're on those apps. Like, come on, you're on those apps. But anyway, we talked about that and how he said that he's going to be off the app and all of that, so it is what it is. So David's like, I got myself a real boyfriend. I'm a real boy. Oh, man. All right, then, but that's it. We're going to say bye to Julianne and bye to Ruben now, and we are moving on. Now, let's circle back to Tim. So, we bring out Luisa and Jamal and all that nonsense, and here we go, guys. Buckle the fuck up. So, someone says, I don't even care. They're still friends, but nothing else. There's just a lack of, I guess, comfortability, I think, whatever. He's like, I don't want to put it all on her. That it just wasn't meshing for him. And she's like, well, all I heard was that I'm a red flag. Stop with your victim edit. Like, no one gives a shit. I can't. If I have to see her on my screen one more time after this season, I'm gonna fucking lose it. But here we go. I'm scared though, let me tell you. Luisa says that, he never, he was never like wanting to spend time with her, whatever. Also says that, he's whatever. I don't even know anymore. She's like, he used me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how did he use you? But he's like, he would call me to complain about his life and all this. She's like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not your lawyer. And Jamal says, funny how you say he used you. He accused me of using Veronica. No, Tim didn't use Luisa. Tim wasn't interested. And Luisa got butthurt because how can a man ever not be interested in her, basically? And this is just, that's not the case. Jamal, you fucking used Veronica. And we see it even in this moment how you may not be with Veronica officially anymore, but you still want to sink your teeth into her because she's more important than you. So, yeah. And the worst decision was having Jamal on this fucking show. Can we just have his mom be on the show by herself, and that way I don't have to also see Jamal? That would be perfect. Chef's kiss. Perfect. Anyways, then we get the flashback of Tim and Luisa and everything and the kiss and all that. And John is like, I don't get it. Like, I get you're from the South and everything, but you should want to jump her bones. Why? God, it's actually a little bit refreshing that we have a man who doesn't want to jump a woman's bones just because she's hot and everything like that. You know what I mean? it's actually a little bit refreshing. I have only, I mean, it's funny because I can't remember if Tim actually ever says that he was ever sexually attracted to her or sexual. I think he was sexually attracted to her, but he didn't have the desire. Like I don't know if he ever mentions he ever really had the desire. I don't know, but I think I've only ever encountered one person who didn't jump in my bones immediately, and that is my ex-husband. But that didn't mean he didn't want to. It just means he just didn't do it because he just wanted to take the time. And that had nothing to do with the desire or anything like that. But it's actually refreshing to see a man just be like, listen, I want to get to know you. I want to take it slow. I don't want to be like this gross guy who's pounding everybody around town and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So, John, you're different. And that's okay. Everyone has their path in life, whatever. Tim is like, but is it like a bad thing that I just wanted to take it slow? No, it's not a bad thing. But the thing is, it's like everyone is kind of portraying it as if it is a bad thing. And that's the part that bothers me. But Louisa, says that she tried to seduce him, but there was always something. He's in pain. His back, his mouth, like he's always in pain. Like I think maybe he does have some sort of chronic pain situation. Was he in an accident or something? He could have chronic pain, and that can definitely diminish your sexual desire or the desire to have sex in general. That could definitely happen, but I could be wrong. I might be mixing that up with somebody else, but and she also says like his best friend broke a leg, so that was another excuse why he couldn't spend time with her. She tells us also a story about how he had a concert that he had to attend that was kind of right near her house. And she asked him if after the concert he could come by and, spend the time with him and, maybe try to have sex with him, probably. And he told her no. No, Friday is for the boys. They're gonna go eat some tacos after. That was not him trying to be sexual. He actually means tacos, which sounds delightful. I love taco. But yeah, sure, you can go and do all of that, but couldn't you go to Louise after and be like, I'm here to eat your taco? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying. And he does say, yeah, that's true. I admit that. I did say that. And she's like, you know what? Maybe my friends were right. You're not into me or any women. I think you might be gay. Here we fucking go. Here we fucking go. Okay. She says, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said. Like, I had to say it. And I'm just like, no, you fucking didn't. Okay, I'm going to put my book down. I'll put my notepad down here. And I'm going to get into this because this pissed me off. Buckle up, guys, like I said, because here I go. I'm going to rant for a minute or two or three. I am sick and fucking tired of people resorting to Tim is gay. Now, will I admit and say initially when I didn't know shit about Tim that I thought something was off? Not so much because he wouldn't fuck Jennifer, but just everything else. And because I'm not used to men being so free in their femininity, especially when he first came onto the show. And he put it out there right there and then and said, I am not gay. I am straight as straight can be. And I believed him. And I still do. What else do I have to go off of? He is not a gay man and he's not trying. And I think part of it too that is upsetting is that he constantly has to defend his sexuality and say, I'm not gay, which also just comes across as, and I don't think that's what he's trying to do, but it just also comes across constant having to talk about it over and over again. It's kind of like, is it a bad thing to be gay? No, it's not. But it's just, enough's enough. He is not gay. A man dressing a certain way and being comfortable in his femininity is not the end all be all to being gay. Prince did it. He wasn't gay. At least I don't think he was. But anyways, I mean, he was fucking a lot of women, including Leslie, you know. But that was okay in the 80s, 90s, even in the 2000s. Like, that was okay. At least for him as a black man. That's perfectly fine, right? Even Lenny Kravitz have had moments, and we now have Harry Styles putting it out there too. And it's just like, why is that conducive to your sexuality? It shouldn't have to be. Now, is it my cup of tea? No. But could Prince get it? Yeah. I don't care what the fuck the man's dressed as. I don't care. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter, right? It's not my cup of tea because it's just not. I mean, if you're hot, you're hot. I don't care. I guess it wouldn't matter to me, I guess, maybe. I just never encountered that, I guess. It's probably the better thing for me to say. I just never encountered a man so comfortable in his femininity as Tim is. And I think that there's nothing wrong with it. And on the other hand, too, I feel like Louisa is saying this because how could he not want to fuck me? Everybody wants to fuck me, right? And again, a man not wanting to just insert here immediately doesn't mean he is gay. It just means one of two things. Either A, he is being more like Tim and wants to take things slow and get to know you as a person, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. Or two, he maybe just isn't that into you. And you know what? That's okay too. Why does he have to be into you? Or, it's ridiculous to me. We need to fucking stop shaming people. Because that's the thing. You're taking this and you're shaming him. Which is wrong on so many different levels. It's just fucked up. And I'm personally, as a viewer, over people doing the Tim is gay thing. It's old. It's enough. Enough's a fuck enough. And then we start getting into this conversation of low T. Now, I can actually see that. I've learned a lot actually from Caesar and Diaries talking about him having low T. I've learned quite a bit. And I think it is more common than we know of men having low T. Which is actually something I wouldn't mind talking to my boyfriend about, just to be sure that everything is okay in that sense. Not only for his sexual health, but also just for his mental health. So, but again, I need them somewhere to swim. So, yeah, I think it's a lot more common than we think. So we kind of hear from Caesar during Diaries, and then we hear from John that he actually had low T too, and he had to get injected. Now he injects himself, and his guy is ready to go. And you know what? That's why they're not getting pregnant. Because from what I understand with Caesar, is that he said, your sperm count is nil, pretty much, when taking testosterone. So that's why Meghan and John aren't getting pregnant. There we go. But it's definitely possible that Tim could have low T with his moods and this kind of sluggish thing that he has kind of going on. It's either could be chronic pain, which can make you feel that way, or it could be low T, or it could be maybe that's just his personality. It could be one of three things. But it's funny because Veronica says, I've actually talked to him about this. So he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe go to a doctor or something. Go to the doctor. Maybe just do a full workup. Check your hormone levels. And see. And guess what? If it's not that, then it's not that. And you know what, guys? This is Tim. This is why we love him. So let's let it go. Like, if he doesn't give a shit and says, I'm good the way things are with my low T and whatever, then fine. But it would be curious to know if in his long-term relationship that he was in, if there was lack of sex during that time with her in this long-term relationship that they were in, when things were good, were they good? Were they having frequent sex or whatever? Because then it may not be low T. That could just be him, but we don't know. And we're not going to know because he's not going to talk about it. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm just fed up. Like that, the low T aspect of things was constructive somewhat, but the talking about his sexuality and his sexual orientation is not. And I'm over it. Rant over. Natalie does not think that he is gay. I've said what I've got to say. And he says, listen, I don't give a fuck what people think. I really don't. And I was like, but see, why don't you care about what people who care about you and love you? Why don't you care what people have to think? And I loved this response that he came back with. And he said, well, if you cared about me and you actually knew me, you would know that I'm not a gay man. Mic drop. Seriously, he's right. You don't give a shit about me. You want to talk about I'm using you. Louisa's using him. Using the quote unquote fame he has from the show. So. And now in turn probably gonna try to use Jamal too. But anyways, Jamal deserves it, I don't care. And then we kind of get into this thing where I guess we're kind of talking about how, she didn't care about him or whatever. And he says, so you constitute me not caring because I didn't come to jumpstart your car when you were at your ex's. I'm sorry, what? So she's out here talking about how he doesn't care. He doesn't this, he doesn't that. Yet, why were you at your ex's house, girl? Why are you there? That's really interesting. I'm just saying. It's kind of interesting. And you can see in this moment she was caught too. She's like, yeah, oh, yeah. Seriously. And Jamal pipes in and Veronica says, they both kind of saw each other the night before at the hotel, and they clearly have chosen to amp each other up in this moment. And then Shaun asks Luisa and Jamal, so you guys hung out last night, so I hear, but, what's going on there? You know what I mean? And he's like, we're not going to talk about it. He's going to talk about it. I don't know what to take from that, but we'll get into it. But she does say, Louisa, do you have anything else you want to say to him? And she's like, you don't want a healthy relationship. I was here to have a healthy relationship with you, and you didn't want it. Well, you didn't want a fucking healthy relationship with him. You saw, I don't know, dollar signs with something. I don't even fucking know when you saw him. That's all this was. And I'm by her for a second. She can fuck off now. Anyways, she's gonna fuck off now. We're done with this. And we're gonna go on break. We see Veronica and Jamal talking. And, things got released and all this and ew. And he says, sorry for coming on so strong. So what are you doing later? No, fucking no. Well, she's like, well, I gotta go check on Tim. He's like, well, you always gotta go check on Tim. She's like, yeah, well, Louisa kind of went out on him. She's like, but we're in a good place. And she's like, call me later and we'll really find out how good of a place we're in. Veronica, no. No. Why the fuck? I guess Jamal probably has a big dick and he probably fucks good. Does he fuck good though? Because he's a narcissist. And narcissists only care about themselves and their pleasure. He doesn't give a shit about Veronica. Come on. Ugh. This is so gross because what even makes it even more gross, and we'll get to it, because Jamal goes back to Louisa and Veronica is going back into the green room. And she says, are we all going out for dinner? Because if so, I think Jamal's probably going to come with. And they were like, that's probably a really bad fucking idea. Everyone else has the fucking sense in here to be like, the fuck you say? Like, what? And she's like, I know it's probably a bad idea, but I'm probably gonna do it anyways. Why? And actually, like, I hate to shame women because, I mean, again, I've probably been there and I've done that. Actually, I have. I've definitely done that. I did that with my current when we weren't together at points where I'm like, well, I mean, he's there. I've done, but I did that because I loved him deep down and I just wanted him close. But at the same time, it's so bad. Especially when like, this is just beating a dead horse. Don't go for the ex that you want nothing to do with. Just know you don't. Just don't do it. Like, this is different because I wanted everything to do with my man, but I just don't do it. This is not gonna go good. Just I need to know. Did they? And we don't know, but maybe we will know one day. I don't know. But anyways, Chantel says, when Veronica leaves to go use the bathroom, she says he didn't hear from me, but like I saw them together at the hotel. Like they were pretty close with each other. And then we go back to Jamal and Luisa, and they're talking. They're by themselves. And you kind of just hear him kind of saying, like, really, she has not much to contribute to this conversation besides giggling and saying, oh my God. Like, she has nothing to contribute. But he's like, we had a good time together. And she's like, I feel bad for Tim. And he's like, fuck Tim. He got what he deserved. We can date now and go off into the sunset or whatever the fuck. And she's like, I remember the little things that kind of happened with her and Jamal. And Jamal says, like, hey, yeah, we did that a couple times. It was great. 10 out of 10. Ew. He's fucking rating. Okay. I'm not sure if they had sex. I'm thinking they did. So if they did, who rates the sex? That's fucking gross. It's so disgusting. Ew. Ew. If I knew anyone that I had sex with rated the sex actually, I probably had men who did, but if anyone actually did, in this day, in my age now at 32 or 33, I'd be like, ew, get the fuck away from me. That's disgusting. Ew. Ugh. Ugh. He's like, yeah, you fell asleep after and I left and all that. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, you guys. I cannot. But that is it for the 4th episode of the Tell All. We are going to take a break here. And when we come back, we are going to finish it up with the final fucking episode. Thank the Lord Jesus Christ up above or whatever, whoever you worship. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we're gonna take a break here. When we come back, we will finish up the single life. And I am back for the final episode of the Tell All single life. So let's just jump right into it. Yeah, we're back with this whole Veronica thing and Jamal thing, and she's like, well, Jamal, he apologized, and she wasn't expecting that. And then we're with Jamal and Luisa, and they have officially left the building. Thank the Lord. I never want to see you people again. Let's continue. Chantel comes back in to the green room in her cozy wear, as they say, to twerk. And she teaches Veronica how to twerk, that she teaches Miss Debbie how to twerk, and yeah, that's basically it. There's really nothing else I'm going to talk about here. So then we go back on set, and Shaun has an important question that she wants to ask the remaining singles on stage. Who from the entire 90-day universe would you date? Okay. Tim says, well, Chantel is really hot. Natalie and Fernanda are very beautiful. But Paola, he's all about it. She's a wrestler now, and I guess it's hot for him. I don't know. And he's like, not that I want to wrestle her, because she would probably kick my ass. Yeah. For Veronica, she says that she wouldn't mind dating someone like Andre. She kind of says, he's really nice, he's down to earth, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's all about it. I heard he's a very nice man. Really, truly. Of course, he's not single, though, so, yeah. Tim says, yeah, if I was gay, I would also date Andre. Yeah. We're just gonna move on. Busy, again, love the confidence. Who cares? Chantel says that she wouldn't mind being with someone like Alexi. But in terms of a single person, she says Julian. Debbie says, well, she thinks that they would be a good match. Julian likes the princess type, and Chantel is the princess type, so it's great. Tyray says Larissa. Like, as soon as I heard him say it, I'm like, she's gonna eat you alive. I mean, anyway. So, yeah, he says, he likes crazy and whatever. Tim is like, do you want to be dead? Shaun is like, interesting that no one on the stage said Serper. Is it though? Is it really interesting? Let's continue. Let's get back to Natalie. We're going to be finishing up the tell-all with Natalie. So we're bringing back Josh and Mama Debbie and Caesar again. And you know what? Let's not stop there. Let's just bring Mike out too. And Josh actually shakes his hand when he comes out and whatever. So how do you feel about, Natalie and Josh's kind of situation? And he's like, it sounds complicated. And he has this look on his face like, that ain't my problem no more. And we get the flashback with Natalie asking Mike about having a child together. And Shaun asked Mike, what's going through your mind when she asked you this? And he was like, I was shocked because, we haven't been together in years. And I'm not going to just donate my sperm to her. Hold on to that. Which is obviously, let's hold on to that. Natalie says, he is my connection to my country. And here. And she cannot break it. And which is interesting because it's like, I understand what she's saying. And he's not saying that that connection has to break. He's saying the marriage has to break. But I think he would continue a friendship with her. Whatever that may mean in comfortability for him and now his current relationship. But it, in a sense, Natalie's kind of using, of course she is using Mike in a sense of, I'm not going to divorce you because you're my connection when I need that connection to what I once was and where I am free from my home. I'm going to use you to get that back. It's kind of bullshit. Anyway, Josh is confused by this because he says that she doesn't know what she wants. And how am I supposed to know what I want or how to deal with things with her when she doesn't know what she wants? Right? Tyray thinks that it was her attempt to get what she wants, which seems to obviously be a child. And Josh is like, I don't even think that's what she wants. I think it's one of the things that she wants. But if she wanted that, and I think Josh kind of puts it out here a little bit, if she wanted to have a child, then why wouldn't she have stayed with Mike? Where that was guaranteed. You're married to him. You chose to not continue on with that marriage. Now, I'm not saying Mike is perfect. He is not. Okay? As soon as Natalie leaves, does he not move to freaking Seattle, which was what she wanted? And it's just that I'd be pissed. But it's just, I get what Josh is saying. Shaun then asks Natalie, how does it feel to have both of these men in the room together? They wanted to be in the room where it happened. So where are we here? Like, how do you feel? And it's just complete silence from her for a really long time. But then she says, don't you see? It's the same pattern as last. So clearly, it's a problem with me. And she's like, 2 relationships, both shit. Now, I can't remember, I think it was Tim who said, it's not your fault. It's not true. And, I mean, I hate to push blame on one person only because it takes 2 to tango. But clearly there is a common denominator here. Natalie has been in 4? Is it 4 or 3? Can't remember now. I think 4 marriages. And 1 relationship outside of a marriage that we've seen. I don't know anything about her other marriages, but just looking at Mike and Josh, the common denominator is Natalie. So I'm just saying. So Mike, have you moved on? And he says yes, he's in a new relationship now. They have known each other for a year and together for 6 months. He loves and adores her. It is a serious relationship, and it's clearly put out there that, well, you and Natalie are still a married couple here, so have you started the divorce process? And he says, yes. And then it's asked, what have you done so far? And he says, well, and he looks over at Debbie and he's like, can you go get me that piece of paper or whatever the fuck he says to her? And then we just kind of see Mama Debbie just walking across the stage and we're all like, huh? What's happening? What's happening? Eventually, Mama Debbie comes back and she goes to Natalie and, you have been served. He literally got Mama Debbie, we're going to get more context, but he literally got Mama Debbie to serve Natalie with divorce papers. And, we do see Mama Debbie like comforting her, saying, I'm so sorry, and whatever. And he explains that it didn't necessarily have to be Mama Debbie. We do find out from Mama Debbie that she offered. But we do find out that, and this is very different than here in Canada, as long as possible, like, I could have, if my ex-partner was here in the country, I could have served him divorce papers. Same thing with custody, you can serve stuff yourself if you so choose. It's just, you do it, and then you have to do an affidavit of service. Like, it doesn't have to be a process server or whatever. But I guess in the States, you yourself who's doing the process cannot serve the person you're trying to serve. I guess, I don't know if it's just in a family matter or in general, but he just had to have anyone do it. It doesn't matter who. And he got Miss Mama Debbie to do it. So, or she, as she mentions, offered to do it. So she has 90 days to respond, which is also, again, more than is given here. And everyone is like, do not sign it now. Josh is like, literally like, wait, don't sign it. You read it over, have someone look it over with you. And apparently, again, which I think that definitely makes sense. But again, I think, like, again, the process of getting a divorce in Canada is very different. You can't just go to a notary public and have them notarize this document and then you're divorced and it's all over and done with. It's very different. You still have to go through the court systems, even if like no one's, contesting anything or anything like that. But, and then they, you get an order and all that and blah, blah, you're done. It's still pretty, like I was pretty removed from my process because I didn't have, no one was fighting anything. It was a very simple divorce, whatever. And I guess in the States, and I could be very wrong because I don't know, but I guess in the States, and I think it's very state by state, and obviously this is Washington, you have to, I guess, have the papers notarized in order for it to be valid, which makes sense. And I guess at that point, then you're divorced. I don't know. But anyways, they're telling her you have to have it signed in front of a notary public because if you don't, it could void the papers. So, which makes sense. Miss Debbie just has to pipe in. Miss Debbie is like, that was a Judas move, man. And we see Natalie's crying and she asks, will this affect my mom? And no, it won't. And Debbie says, Miss Debbie, you could have done this privately. And Veronica says, this has been a long time coming. Like she refused to sign papers last time, as well as I would rather it be served by someone I know cares about me and it's my friend and whatever than have a complete stranger come to me and serve me. And I think, again, in the case of Natalie, I think it is a better situation to have someone who knows her and cares about her, and she knows that, serve her papers, than have a sheriff or whoever. I don't know. We do things very differently here, like I said. Have a complete stranger serve you these documents. I think it is a better situation, especially when she doesn't see it coming. I think it's definitely much better the way it's been done. Did it have to be done on national television? No. But are we surprised that it was done on national television? We should not be. And Tim is like, there was Tim who said that's been a long time coming, that she refused, blah, blah. And he's like, Mike is not being cruel. And Mama Debbie's like, don't pick on Mike. And Miss Debbie's like, you are Judas, man. And I think it was Mama Debbie's like, shut up. Your opinion doesn't matter to me. She's my friend. Then Mama Debbie says, you're a fucking bitch. Oh. And then she also calls her a clown. The biggest clown of the century, I believe. Shaun is like, Natalie, how do you feel about what's kind of happened? And she's like, I do not want to divorce him, but honey, stop beating a dead horse. Just let's just move on. Divorce him. This is what he wants. Don't make us a fight. And again, she kind of says like, he's my only connection to my world. And if I break that, then, then what? And Shaun is like, is the divorce because of your new relationship, Mike? And he says, well, yes and no. Clearly, like, she can't take me seriously if I'm not making the moves that are necessary, right? And he says, he needs a long, happy life with her. Oh, and I think I missed this part too. She's supposed to be moving in with him in like a month. So there's also that. And he says he sees a long, happy life with her. And he also sees the potential of having kids with her. Natalie audibly, like, whimpers, I believe. Because, like, that's tough. Especially when, like, I'm going to go with both ways here. On the one hand, it's tough to hear because you want to have child. I don't know if she necessarily knows who the fuck she wants to have a child with, but she wants to have a child. And that feels like something, yet again, is out of her grasp. But on the other hand as well, Natalie, you did have him. Now, again, not saying Mike is perfect, because he's not. But let's not forget, they seemed to be on a pretty level playing field initially when we saw them, up until she threw that engagement ring at him. They have not been the same since, which was, we barely saw them before that happened. And from the most of the time that we've seen both Mike and Natalie as an item, they didn't seem happy, or at least as happy as they could have been. And I feel like having the K1 visa go through was, I don't know, I was surprised that they actually went through with it, personally. But nonetheless, you guys got married, you attempted to make this work. The reason you didn't work is because you went to go live with your friend Julia, who then came back to swim to move you out and took a dump in Mike's bathroom. And then you just vanished. You fucked off to Florida. That's only you. You can't sit here and cry that the man has moved on and potentially may have kids with somebody else when that could have been you. Life is way too short. But anyways, so we're kind of, as she's kind of losing her mind here, we're going to give her a minute, let her process what she's hearing. Yeah. But while she's doing that, Mama Debbie says that the convo with Mike, in terms of the serving and everything, was he asked if anyone at all, would be willing to serve her. And she is the one that chose to do it because it would be better for her to have done it than someone else who was a stranger. Even Josh in this moment, who's like, I may not like you, but that was pretty great. And I'm happy that you did it. And this moment kind of just, because I just recently watched one of the Twilight movies, well, all the Twilight movies, because surgery. So I just kind of sat there and just watched Twilight, because what else do you do? And I was watching Eclipse, and in that scene where they're in the tent and she's freezing and Ever can't make it better because he's also freezing because he's dead. And Jacob comes to the rescue because, 105 degrees over here, and it was funny because I remember that scene where he's like, I mean, I like you very much, but I'm happy you're here. It gave me the same feeling of, I'm Edward, you're Jacob, Mama Debbie, and I'm really happy that you were here to do this, even though, I hate you. But anyway, that's my weird connection to this scene. But anyways, now Mike is out of the way. He says, Josh can swoop in and make it better. But he says, I hear that, but Mike was willing to give her everything, right? And she just left. So how am I supposed to know that if I'm giving her everything, she won't leave me? And that's a fair assessment. And it really is. But he's like, he is open to getting back together with her. They are having more fun. They seem to be, fighting, I guess, a little better. But it's not to say that things are completely perfect. They still have moments, and you're always going to have moments. It's just, I guess, how you handle those moments. But I guess we'll see. Guess we're not done with the Natalie and Josh saga. But that's it for this. We're going to now say goodbye to Mama Debbie and Caesar, who contributed nothing. Well, Caesar contributed nothing to this. And Debbie says to Josh, you better not fucking hurt her. And they hug, y'all. Josh and Debbie hug. That was something. And she does go to hug Natalie, and then we say goodbye to Mike. We say goodbye to Josh. And Josh, this is interesting. This was great. This is peak Natalie. Josh goes over to Natalie to ask her if she is okay. Not a damn thing from Natalie. She doesn't even look at him. Mike, however, comes over to her and she instantly gets up and hugs him. Because what, she thinks that that's going to stop the divorce from happening? I don't know. But that is it for the tell-all. We are done. That is a wrap on season. What season are we on? 5, 4, whatever. Chantel says to Natalie, it may not look like it now, but this is a blessing in disguise. And you know what? I am with her on that. Even though I was the one that started my divorce process, it was a blessing in disguise. It was exactly what I needed. Not to say that I didn't love him or whatever, but we were just not in a place that we were ever going to be where we were or what we were or what we could have been. We were stuck in this place. And that was my experience. But now they have been separated for a long time. I don't know if there ever were chances of something working out, I don't know, between Mike and Natalie, but they're stuck in this place. What is the point? It's time to let it go. And maybe this is exactly the push that Natalie needs to focus on her. And if there's this potential of her and Josh, which I don't think there is, but if there is this potential for her and Josh, this is the perfect opportunity for her to focus on him. And I think even this could be a blessing in disguise for Josh, because maybe this is the thing he needed too, to finally be like, maybe I can go the distance here with her. I don't think so. But, I'm just saying. But yeah, they were like, let's get you divorced. And then you know what? We can celebrate. We can actually go to Italy. Now, that is a show I'd be willing to watch. Single Life Italy edition. It'd be kind of cool. Miss Debbie tells Natalie, be careful about who your real friends are. Your friends would have your back. Like, she's basically just trying to be like, Debbie's is not your friend. Please. Mike is feeling good. He's feeling happy. He wants the best for both her and her mom. And they're going to be just fine. Natalie and Josh, we see them talking, and Natalie is like, my mom is going to cry a lot when I tell her. And you know what? She is going to cry a lot. But I think Natalie's mom loves Mike. I don't know if it's ever necessarily going to change, but she is going to cry a lot because of that. But I think she's also going to cry a lot because there isn't the potential of me becoming a grandmother just flittering out the window. I'm telling you, I'm happy that Natalie's mom is safe. I'm happy that mom and daughter are together because they clearly have this bond. But I'm really sad for Natalie because I think a lot of what Natalie does in life is to please her mother. And at this age, 39 years old, that's exhausting. That is exhausting. But Josh says, she's going to be just fine. She's going to be fine. And he tells her, 2024 is going to be your year. It's going to be great and whatever. And he's like, in the background, you can literally hear the fight that is about to start. The fight that we're about to go into. So let's get to it. Mama Debbie comes in to talk to everyone. And she tells Chantel, you are beautiful. You are young. You can twerk or tweak or whatever as much as you want. And Chantel tells her, well, Miss Debbie, has been attacking me on my outfits. And Mama Debbie is like, her? The fashion expert? Damn. Then the fight starts. And Miss Debbie's like, there is a mean girl thing going on here. And I don't want to take any part in that. And I'm like, what? Miss Debbie, the mean girling started with you. Now, I have been vocal on many things when it comes to Chantel and her process through the single life, because I felt like she wasn't 100% ready for this because of her marriage just ended, all of that. But, I mean, my personal preferences isn't to walk around a place foreign to me and no underwear, riding on a man's motorcycle with no underwear. That's not my preferences. But I'm also, at the same time, not going to give a shit because it's not my body. It's Chantel's body. If she's comfortable doing it, by all means. It's just something I would do. It's not hurting me. So it's fine. Right? Even if I felt the way Debbie did to that extreme, I am not going to walk up to her, a person I barely fucking know, and tell her and shame her for those things. And then taking it above and beyond and basically saying you should be ashamed of your sexuality in a sense. Because that's how it felt. That is mean girling. And you can cover that up by saying, well, I have a daughter, I'm a mother, and all this. You can cover it up in that way. That's how you so choose if that helps you sleep at night. But you are shaming a woman in her sexuality and her comfortability in that. And not only that, you're shaming a colored woman in her sexuality and her comfortability with that. Because I find it funny that I don't hear you attacking Veronica in her sexuality and whatever. I find it funny that you're not shaming Natalie in her sexuality. If anything, you're shaming Josh for Natalie's choices. I find it funny. That's all I'm going to say. Let that sink in. But, so Mama Debbie is like, well, you have to lie about your age, to get a date. And Miss Debbie's like, I don't need a friend to serve me court documents. And Tyray's like, listen, like, I get Miss Debbie and what she's saying because that's something that I would want either. But at the same time, it's like everyone's preferences are different. I don't know Natalie, so maybe this is what she wanted, this is what she needed, and everyone has their preference and whatever. Debbie is like, this bothered the fuck out of me. Miss Debbie is like, Natalie doesn't know what she wants right now or how she feels right now. She's a mess right now, whatever. And the look on both Veronica and Mama Debbie's faces is like, so now you're basically gonna say that a woman is incapable in an emotional situation, is incapable of knowing how she feels, what she thinks. She doesn't have her faculties in place in order to, regulate her emotions. That is taking away Natalie's autonomy in this moment. And that's really fucked up. Miss Debbie, please take several seats and shut the fuck up. Please. Because you cannot dictate to anybody about how Natalie, you are basically trying to tell Natalie how she should feel, which is you don't know what to feel. I hated it. It felt so gross, honestly. And you can tell, especially on Veronica's face, that she kind of felt the same way. Like, what? Mama Debbie's like, you're making me feel worse because she felt bad in the decision that she made. And everyone around her is rallying and saying, you did the right thing. Even Natalie is saying, I'm not mad at you. Why would I be mad at you? It's fine. And then you have Miss Debbie, who just met Natalie today, basically telling her, well, she's not your real friend. Like, just, anyways, Miss Debbie's like, you called me a clown. So let me get this straight. All of this because she called you a clown? Well, maybe stop acting like one. Just an idea. And she's like, I saw how you acted in your son's relationship because we're talking about Larissa. I'm not sure. You're destructive. And I'm like, oh no, do not talk about someone's family because Debbie did not, Miss Mama Debbie did not stoop that low to talk about your family dynamics. So do not talk about Mama Debbie's family dynamics. And Mama Debbie says, don't talk about my family. And Miss Debbie says, then keep my name out of your mouth, woman. Gross. First of all, two things. Number one, fucking gross. The way and the thing is, the thing that she doesn't want to hear. And I really do hope she can watch this back and be like, oh, I got this wrong. Is that it said to her, she was trying to uplift you in a sense. Basically tell you, why do you feel the need to do X, Y, and Z to get a date, right? And you took that as an attack when it wasn't. And I think we can all agree that Mama Debbie has a tone, but I did not think for a minute that she was being rude initially until it went in that direction due to Miss Debbie. Number two, Miss Debbie, it's really difficult for Mama Debbie to keep your name out of her mouth because your name is her name. I'm just saying. You all thought about it. Let's move on. And then take a weird turn, and Mama Debbie is like, isn't it her who had to date a 23-year-old? Like, how and why could a 23-year-old ever want to be with somebody your age? Like, really? And not only that, and then goes even weirder, and she's like, I'm having sex every night. And, Miss Debbie's like, well, that's like your, I don't know, it was so weird. Like, that's the thing that you think about or whatever. And she's like, yeah, sex, say it. And Mama Debbie's like, clearly you want to be in a relationship for sex. And Miss Debbie's like, there is more to relationships than sex. And then I guess the emotional stimulation, which is true. The emotional, mental stimulation is also really important in a relationship. Don't sit here and act like that's not something that you think about. There's no one on this planet who doesn't think about sex in some sense, whether you need that emotional connection prior to having a sexual one, whatever, if it's not required, whatever. Everyone's ways to having a sexual connection with somebody, it's all going to get to that point for most. I find it very hard to believe that's not one thing that she thinks about obtaining. Because when you are in a pharmacy with your son picking out condoms, honey, before you even met Ruben, that is your currency as well, is potentially having a sexual relationship with somebody. When you were talking about your previous relationships, talking about the fact that your second husband caused you not to walk the next day, that is part of your currency and being in a relationship. That's a requirement for you. So don't sit here and shame Mama Debbie for the fact that she's having sex every night, or maybe not so much now because she's kicked out of Canada. And don't pretend like you're not, like you don't want to have sex. Stop pretending. And I didn't buy it. And again, it has felt very shamey on her part. We see her shaming Chantel. We saw her shaming Veronica. Now we see her shaming Mama Debbie. It's just not okay. This holier than thou attitude that she has, I'm not about it. Then we start talking about Chantel's clothing some more and how that affects with Julian and whatever. Anyways, let's move on. Veronica's like, well, let's just agree that you both are moms who love their children. Great. Miss Debbie's gonna leave now. She goes and says goodbye to Tyray. Then she looks at Veronica and she looks at Mama Debbie and she flings her little feathered thingamajigger and she just walks away. And she laughs. And as she's walking away, Mama Debbie's like, I think she says like, fuck you or something like that. I don't remember exactly what she says. It was just not necessary. If you don't like them, fine. But you can just say, till next time and move on. It's just, I came out of this season of The Single Life disliking Miss Debbie. That's shame. It's a shame. Anyways, Veronica has to borrow Tim's deodorant because she says she stinks. He's going to be promptly throwing that out later. Veronica says, you know what? If I do see Jamal tonight, that could hold me over. Okay. Listen. And again, I'm coming from a person who, is in a relationship with a person, and I'm fortunate to be able to, have sex when I want or whatever. But it just feels to me that resorting back to your ex, who basically like shit on you on national television, not even a few hours ago, and you're just gonna go off and have sex with him because it will hold you over. Listen, no shame. Okay, we all need to be quote unquote held over or whatever. But Jamal, this fucking guy, I hope she watches this back and is like, this is fucking disgusting. And I really actually hope, not because that I don't want her to get hers, but I really hope that she didn't have sex with him because he doesn't deserve any more of her time. Anyway, John says that, you know what? If you're ever in trouble, just propose. Lord Jesus. Chantel feels as she is over her ex-husband. I find it very interesting that she can't say his name. And that is how I know, Chantel, you are not over him. If you cannot say your ex's name, you're not over him. Natalie says, cutting off Josh now would be crazy because now she's getting a divorce. She'll have nobody. She said, I do feel though that he I think she says isn't serious about her. I think that's what she said. And she's like, I'm 39. I can't waste more time. So I guess we'll see. But that is it for The Single Life. And that is a wrap on this season. So final thoughts. This was a pretty good season. I enjoyed it for the most part. Of course, we did hear about the potential divorce on the horizon with Mike and Natalie, and I am hoping that from what it looks like with HEA, we're not done with John, and I'm very happy because honestly, I was very mad. I didn't really talk about much about this, obviously, because I haven't been covering HEA, but I was really nervous with Patrick and Thais being on HEA because I'm like, I don't care about them that much that I need to see them. But we are going to Brazil, so I'm good with that. We're going to meet her dad. I'm great with that too. And her dad still hates him. It's perfect. And then we got John maybe going as well. Thank you, 90 Day Gods, for delivering the perfect storyline for Patrick and Thais. I'm here for it. But anyway, that is it for The Single Life. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, We're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Week Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.